Everyone, this is Ravinder Dundra and welcome to my channel. In this lecture, we will start new chapter in economics from class 10 CBSE, that is sectors of the Indian economy. So, you all know that in our country or in the world, we people perform different types of activities. In that, some activities may be useful and some activities may be used for our own consumption or self consumption. So whatever the activities that we all are performing in this world, these activities have been classified into two different types. They are, one is economic activities, the second one is non-economic activities. You will all know that in your ninth standard you might have learned about this economic activities as well as non-economic activities. Economic activities means what? Those activities which will contribute income to the nation or which will generate any kind of income. So we call them as this economic activities, and non-economic activities are those activities which will not generate any kind of income and which will not contribute anything to nation's economy. So these activities can be known as this non-economic activities. And for example, in the economic activities you can take fishing or farming or industries, whatever the things you take, they all are generating income to the nation. But whereas if you take this non-economic activities such as this cooking or washing your own clothes or whatever the things which you done for your own consumption, self consumption, you can call them as this non-economic activities. But the main aim of this chapter is that we are going to discuss different types of economic activities that are performed in the world and how they are classified. Usually these economic activities are classified into three different sectors. We can also call these economic activities in the form of sectors. So how many sectors? Mainly three different sectors have been classified. What are those? The first one is primary sector, the second one is secondary sector, and tertiary sector. So whatever the economic activities we all perform, these economic activities are classified into three different sectors: primary, secondary, and tertiary. So now we will discuss in detail about this each and every sector. So let us start with this first sector, that is primary sector. So you all know that primary means what? The first one. That you can say all those activities or all when the goods are produced by using these natural resources, we can call those activities as primary activities or primary sector activities. For example, to take growing growing the cotton, what it requires, we are mainly depending upon the nature but not entirely. In the same way, if you take this when we extract milk, what is happening here? We are extracting by the biological process that are in the animals. So like this, whatever the activities which are produced or which we generate by using the natural resources, those activities we call them as this primary activities, or those activities will come under primary sector. So then this primary sector is a base for all other sectors. That means just imagine, without this primary sector you cannot produce mostly anything in this secondary and tertiary sector. Why? Because all these sectors, primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors, they are all they all are interdependent upon each other. If any one of them is not there, means the other sectors cannot survive. So in that, among these sectors, mainly this primary sector will form the base for all other sectors. And this sector also called as this agricultural and related sector. Why? Because in the primary sector, mainly we perform activities such as agriculture, fishing, dairy, forestry, etc., which are related closely to this agriculture. Maybe you take growing up of cotton, rice, wheat, or any other food item which we produce in the form of agriculture. Because of that, we are calling this sector as agricultural and related sector. And not only that, even if you take activities such as mining, quarrying, these kind of activities will also be coming under this primary sector. Why? We are directly extracting the nature or we are directly exploring the nature or the soil, then we are extracting these minerals. Therefore, mining and quarrying will also come under this primary sector. So all those activities, once again if you see, whatever the activities that are produced by using the natural resources but by exploiting the nature, we call them as this primary activities or those activities will come under primary sector. Next we will discuss about this secondary sector. We will discuss about the next very important sector, that is secondary sector. So this secondary sector, what do you mean by this secondary sector is that in this sector natural products are turned into other forms through manufacture. That means whatever the goods that are produced in the primary sector, these goods are turned into other forms or changed into other forms through the process of manufacturing in the industries. So in this secondary sector, what mainly happens is that whatever the goods that are produced in the primary sector, these activities, these goods are turned into other forms. For example, you take this sugar cane which is produced in the primary sector, but it can be turned into sugar, it can be turned into jaggery, or we also call it as gur. So like this, whatever the goods that are produced in the primary sector can be turned into other forms by manufacturing in the industries. So this sector which turns natural products into other forms, we call it as this secondary sector. And it is the next step after primary sector. That means what? Once the primary sector activities are done, the next step is that in the secondary sector. For example, you take primary sector, sugar cane is producing. The next stage is that it will be turned into sugar by the process of this manufacturing in the industries. So the next step after this primary sector is the secondary sector. And since most of the activities in the secondary sector are involved in this manufacturing or which can be done in these industries, that is why this secondary sector is also called as this industrial sector. And this secondary sector, it also includes this construction of buildings. Why? Because we are manufacturing something, like by taking bricks and we are constructing a building or any house. So construction of buildings and manufacturing of goods, so all these activities can be classified under this secondary sector. Then the next, let us discuss about this tertiary sector. What do you mean by this tertiary sector is that these are the activities that help in the development of other sectors. That means whatever the activities that are performed in primary and secondary sector, these activities will get support from this tertiary sector, or the tertiary sector's main aim is to develop this primary and secondary sectors, or to support this primary and secondary sectors. And the other very important feature of this tertiary sector is that these activities, they do not produce goods by themselves. That means in the tertiary sector you cannot find goods that are produced. What you can find is that you can find only that services. That is why, as I have told, these activities, they help in the development of other sector. How it helps? For example, take sugar cane, and if the sugar cane is produced in the farmland, if it needs to be transported to the industry, how it will be transported? By some vehicles. So here the tertiary sector will provide services like transportation, and if you want to manufacture, you need some other raw material, you need money, or you need something whatever the like communication, or it can be any other thing. So all these activities will be provided by this tertiary sector. So that is why the main aim of the tertiary sector is that to provide or to help primary and secondary sectors in their development. And what are the examples you can take is that goods produced by primary and secondary sector need to be transported. Just now I have mentioned sugarcane, and it need to be transported. And other than that, you can also take some other examples such as banking, communication, storage, and we will discuss about these things. But before that, the main examples are this: banking, communication, and storage. For example, you have produced rice or any wheat. Directly we cannot sell it in the industries, or we cannot go it to the market whenever there is less price for these goods. So in that time, what we need to do? We need to store these goods. So in that time also, this tertiary sector will help in this providing these storage facilities. So that is why, since this tertiary sector is providing different services such as banking, communication, storage, etc., we call this sector as, we can also call it as this service sector. And at the same time, in this tertiary sector or in the service sector, we can also find other sources or other jobs such as teacher, lawyer, doctor, or engineer, because all these people, they are providing some kind of services to the people. That is why we can also include teacher, doctors, engineers, etc., etc., all these people in this tertiary sector or also in this service sector. So with this we have completed about this different sectors such as primary, secondary as well as tertiary sectors. In the next lecture we will discuss we'll discuss about this comparing these three different sectors, how we can compare and how we can calculate this GDP, how we can calculate this national income. Thank you.